Lawrence Neal here, and welcome back to High Intensity Business, the podcast where we provide you with the tools, the tactics, and the strategies to help you grow your high intensity training business. Get more clients for your HIIT business when you download our free evidence-based presentation focused on the anti-aging effects of strength training. Just go to highintensitybusiness.com/free, where you can download that now. The presentation is perfect for speaking engagements and can also be used to educate your existing clients to help retain them long term. So again, go to highintensitybusiness.com/free to download that now. Today's episode is 398, and the title of this episode is How to Get More Clients with Networking, and specifically BNI networking. Now, we're going to focus on BNI because that's where I have the most experience, but this can really be related to any networking opportunity that you might come across, whether that's a Rotary Club, Chambers of Commerce, or even any generic networking event that you might come across in your business. And the principles really do cross over and transfer. They're really the same. This is quite a short episode. I like to get to the point with these types of episodes where I'm doing them myself, solo, and just trying to give you actionable advice you can implement right away. And just to be clear, I'm not affiliated with BNI in any way. I'm not getting any kickbacks, and I will be giving the warts and all, the good and bad, about networking so that you can make an informed decision in your business. I actually documented my BNI journey inside HIIT Business Membership. So this is really the first time I'm talking about it in more detail publicly, I believe. So excited to bring you this content today. So what is BNI? BNI stands for Business Networking International. It's probably the most popular and most successful networking organization in the world. They're all over the place. They have meetup groups, many meetup groups in probably every city in the entire world for the most part. I wouldn't be surprised. So we're talking thousands of chapters. Chapters are what they call the meetup groups. And I think one of the reasons they're so successful is they have a really efficient and effective structure to the flow of the meeting, which is very intentional. Everything is formalized and there's a step-by-step flow to every meeting. And this is really optimized to generate maximum value and referrals for members. So I think that's probably why it's done very well, and certainly why I found it quite valuable. So let's talk a little bit more about why you should consider BNI and networking in general to generate more clients for your business. So obviously it's a great way to get clients for your business, especially if you're a startup and you're looking for that kind of initial flow of clients in the beginning. And there's also a bunch of other reasons why it's useful as a startup, and I'll come on to that in a bit. But it's also useful if you're just looking for a new injection of clients into your business as well. To give you some information in terms of results and what we achieved, we generated about 10 clients from the first couple of months of BNI, which is very good compared to other businesses that review their ROI doing BNI. But even better than that, and what really impressed me, was Brad Stanke over at Discover Strength. Brad is a Discover Strength franchisee in Maple Grove, Minneapolis. And he was able to generate about 20 free workouts from his chapter immediately. I'm not sure how many members were in the group, probably a lot more than that, probably somewhere around 30, 35 plus members, but still great conversion to free workout. And then he was able to convert 19 of those into clients, which is unbelievable. And obviously a testament to Brad and his team's sales abilities. But you can see, obviously, there is a fantastic example of a great ROI from BNI that he was able to achieve. And much of that is down to picking the right group, and that's hugely important, and we'll talk about that in a moment. And really the way it works is if you've got members in the group who are members of your target market, and for the most of us, that's probably going to be busy professionals if I'm keeping it quite high level, and they're obviously going to be a great fit for your business, so they're likely to become your clients, but it's also their friends, family, and their business network that's going to be really valuable to you as well. And that's the whole point of BNI, is you are or networking in general, is you are trying to help each other. You're trying to provide business to each other. You're trying to lead with givers gain, which just means you are trying to help someone else through providing business for them. And that kind of will generate reciprocation. They will want to help you and provide you with referrals as well. The other thing to note is with BNI, and this is probably the same for most networking actually, the first session is free. So it really is a no-brainer, because if you're likely, I believe, in our business, especially if you lead with value and you pitch well, which we're going to come on to in a moment, and you've got a good offer, and for most of us, let's face it, that's an efficient strength training service and potentially a free workout or a very valuable initial consultation, then I think you should get business before you even become a member of BNI, just by visiting that first chapter, if you get a few things right, which again, I'll go into in a moment. The other thing to talk about is the opportunity for joint ventures. So in every BNI chapter, you're kind of encouraged to form a bit of a power team and look at the other members in your chapter who have businesses with really nice synergy to your own. So for example, if there's like a massage therapist in the chapter, that could be a good joint venture partner with you, where you have the same client and you can kind of cross promote and generate referrals for each other more easily. And maybe there are other people in the chapter, other businesses who just have a really good synergy with your business, and you can really work well together, and it becomes easier to generate referrals for one another as opposed to other people in the group. So there's a lot of secondary benefits to networking. Now, you do want to be clear about how you measure the return on investment. It's easy to try and justify a networking opportunity based on all these other benefits, so just be mindful of that. But I'll just share some of these with you anyway. The first one is with BNI, and I suspect this is the same with maybe other networking groups, is you can visit chapters online, which obviously makes it easier, more efficient. There is something obviously to be said for meeting people in person, and pressing the flesh and shaking hands. That's definitely important, if not for your own sanity, if nothing else but your own sanity even. But the fact that a lot of these are online, and this is the same for BNI, I mean, you can really attend quite a few meetings quite easily. It's a great opportunity to work on your speaking skills and your communication skills, because you're forced to get up every single meeting for 60 seconds and do a short presentation. And there's other presentations you do along the way. And there's lots of support. So don't be concerned. Don't be worried about, putting yourself out there. But frankly, I think if you are an entrepreneur listening to, or watching this podcast or listening to this, or a salesperson within a high intensity training business, you need to do this. You need to learn to inoculate yourself against the fear and discomfort of these types of situations by just throwing yourself into the ring and just doing it. It gives you the opportunity to really work on your presentation skills, making sure that you learn how to deliver presentations that really resonate and drive the results you want. And also it helps you hone your message. So because you're pitching every single week, you're really getting good at breaking your message down into the most succinct elements and delivering the things that are really going to resonate and get the results you want from the meetings. It's a great way to get regular feedback from clients, right? So if a lot of the group become your clients and you're going to be seeing them every week, it's a great way to build those relationships up and just get great feedback on your service. Obviously, there is the opportunity to build a network that's going to benefit your life. So this is quite valuable if you're, say, new to an area. If you've just moved to a new area and you're looking to make friends or looking to just build your network for different things you might need in your life or business, it's a great way to do that because immediately you get access to all these people who are very willing and interested in helping you to obviously build your network and grow your business. And obviously, it's a great way to make friends and just have fun and have a good time. So again, I think it's a wonderful way to, wonderful technique to use if you're moving to a new area and you are an entrepreneur and you're looking to achieve all those things. There's a lot of secondary benefits. So let's talk about how you get results, right? How do you start networking and start getting results straight away? Now, again, I'm going to obviously tailor this to BNI, but these principles can probably be used for any networking opportunity. So just starting with some marketing fundamentals very quickly. I know I do this all the time, but I just feel it gets neglected a lot. I talk to business owners in the high intensity training space every week, and I always see this quick focus on what are we going to do for new clients, say this quarter, what are we going to focus on? And let's start listing off different marketing tactics. And I think, wait a minute, we need to back up here. We need to make sure this is actually the right tactics for your business. So we need to, again, just focus on who's your target market, right? Because this is the fundamentals of marketing. You need to know who the best person is for your business. You need to know who your target market is. And the target market is defined by, and you can discover your target market by really asking these questions of your existing client base. Who is the easiest to sell to? Who is the easiest to retain? Who spends the most money? Who talks about us positively to their friends and family and network all the time? Who generates the most referrals? Now, when I was saying those things, you're probably thinking of this one client or this small group of clients in your clientele who fits that description perfectly. That person is your target market, and that's who you should be creating an avatar around, and that is how you should be selecting your marketing activity. If a marketing tactic, if that person does not spend their time where you are deploying some marketing, you shouldn't be doing it. So that's the first question to ask here. And if your target market is not a busy professional individual, let's keep it quite high level, then networking, unless it's a Rotary group, might not be a great fit for you, unless obviously the networking group specifically has your target market in it. So BNI is typically a busy professional. Again, it could be more specific than that, but I'm just keeping it high level. So that's where it's really going to work for you if you're looking for those types of people, the affluent, busy professional who is time starved and looking for time efficient fitness solutions, right? So if, for example, if your business is focused on retired seniors that are over 70, then, BNI is probably not going to be a good fit for your business. So assuming that we're all on the same page here and we're all kind of looking for busy professionals for the most part, which I know most of you do target, the first thing you've got to do with networking is just select the right group. So with BNI, for instance, if your group has under 20 people, it's probably not going to be as effective, especially if it's under 20 and they're not even the right people in the room. What you really want, what your criteria should be, is at least 20 people who are all busy professionals for the most part. So lawyers, accountants, business owners, salespeople, those types of things. Obviously, the closer the identity in the group is to your avatar, to your target market, the better return on investment you're probably going to get from your time and investment in BNI. The next thing I want to say is it's really important to just treat everyone equally in the group. I think there's a tendency in any networking situation to kind of focus on the people you think are going to produce the highest return for you. And maybe they could be a great fit for your business, or they know people that are. And I think that can be a real mistake sometimes. I think we should be really making sure we treat everyone equally and investing time to understand everyone's business in the group, regardless of how obscure and unrelated that business might be to you, because you just don't know who they might know. So that's the first thing I wanted to say about networking. The next tip is really to log in early. So this means if you are attending a in-person networking meetup, that you show up a little earlier than necessary. And if it's an online meetup, that you log in early and you actually sit in the lobby, the online lobby before the meeting, and actually get to know members. Because in BNI, the structure is very formal. You get straight down to business. Unless you've got one-to-ones and meetings after with members of the group, you won't get as much of an opportunity to really speak to members and get to know them. So with all these things, I think it's always good to be 15, 20 minutes early if you can, just to really get to know people and start building those relationships up, because that's going to produce probably more return for you in the long term. Now, the next things I'm going to go through are, I think, what most people mess up regarding networking. And when you hear someone say, oh yeah, I tried that, I tried BNI, I tried networking, didn't work for me, I think more often than not, it's because they make the following mistakes. Firstly, they focus too much on themselves and they look at what they can get out of it straight away, rather than focusing on giver's gain, which is the whole philosophy of BNI, and it's applicable to all networking, is what can you bring, what value can you bring to other people in the group? There's a famous saying, I think it's Zig Ziglar said, if you can help enough people get what they want, you will get what you want. And I might be butchering that a little bit, but that's the general premise. So you have to really focus on other people, focus on members of the group and how you can help their business. It's just like in your business with your customers, right? You focus on how you can deliver value to your customers. So that's the first thing, is really changing the orientation and focusing on the people in the group and how you can add value, and stop focusing on your own business and your own ego. And then the next thing is I think many of them just have a very poor pitch, which is probably along the same lines as this over focusing on oneself. And the pitch, when they come to talk about their business, is often about themselves, about how long they've been in business for, about their services. And it's not enough of it is about the customer. What problems do you solve for the people in the room and their friends and their network? That's what you want to focus on, taking the attention away from some of these elements that just frankly are not that important to your prospective customer. So the main philosophy that I've mentioned a bunch of times in this podcast is this idea of giver's gain. So it's how can you help people in the room? This should be on your mind all the time. This is the mindset. It's leading with value. It's taking the time to listen more and understand, like, you must come away from interactions with really understanding someone's business. And if you haven't, it's because you haven't listened. So you've got to really spend the time, invest the time to listen and learn about people's businesses and see how you can help them. Lead with value. So the next bit is obviously talking about, we mentioned before about how one of the mistakes I think a lot of our colleagues make is having a poor pitch. And I'm going to give you a pitch that worked really well for us. And I'm literally going to read the pitch verbatim, and because it worked really well. And hat tip here to Discover Strength, who put me onto the Story Brand book series by Donald Miller, which is fantastic and helps you create different types of copy and messaging and that you can use in your marketing. And so this is inspired by that. So if you're interested in going deeper on this, I recommend the book Story Brand and Marketing Made Simple and Business Made Simple by Donald Miller. But I really want to obviously credit Discover Strength for making me aware of this. So here would be my pitch. So this would be the start of the BNI meeting, 60-second pitch. Lawrence, it's your turn. Take it away. So I would stand up and say, or virtually in the meeting, start to say, "Hi, I'm Lawrence. I'm a partner at Optimus Strength, a personal training business in Briar Hill Business Park. At Optimus Strength, we know you want to feel incredible. In order to do that, you need a smarter workout. The problem is you don't have time to waste on workouts that don't work, and that makes you feel frustrated. We believe that your workout should be as smart as everything else that you do. So number one, you'll work with an expert personal trainer. Number two, we use an evidence-based approach to exercise that's focused on strength training. Number three, you only work out twice a week for 30 minutes each. So schedule your free workout with me today in the studio or virtually so you can stop wasting time in the gym and just start to feel and look your best in a fraction of the time. I'm looking for an introduction to that busy professional friend of yours who's looking to improve their health but just struggling to find time. Lawrence Neal from Optimus Strength, Strength for Life." And then I'd sit down. And I've just found that almost always I win the 60-second presentation because I'm really focusing on making the message really straightforward in terms of the problem it solves for the prospective customer. And it's just very clear what we do and how you take action with us and how you move forward. My next tip would be to make sure you, again, invest in those relationships. So in BNI, one-to-ones are really important. This is time you have, obviously, one-on-one with members of the group, where you can really get to know their business and figure out how you can find referrals for one another. And this is time that you schedule outside the meeting, obviously. Again, the same principle of give as gain. Don't sell. Don't talk about your business. Make it all about them and their business. And really make sure you develop a good understanding. By the way, a great listening tactic to make sure you have listened effectively is to have someone tell you about their business and then say it back to them to make sure that you have good clarity of understanding of what they've just said. And they'll appreciate that. And then what I would do is in that one-to-one, of course, you're going to have an opportunity to talk about your own business. Ideally, you're tail-ending it with your business, and at which point you say, "Hey, you know what? Why don't we set you up for a free workout? Come in for a free workout. Then you can really experience the workout, which is going to make it a lot easier for you to talk about it to other clients. And plus, you just get a great workout." And the thing is, they're probably going to say yes to that. And they're going to have a great workout and they're going to have better understanding so they can sell it. But also, they're probably going to become your client because they're going to be blown away by the high intensity. So that works very, very well. You want to be really intentional with your time with BNI. Just like social media, it can become a real time suck and very distracting and take you away from your business. So you have to be very mindful of that because even with things like BNI, there is process, there is administration, and you want to try and really minimize that in my experience. And here's just a few tips on how you can really be efficient with your BNI time so that you're maximizing return on investment and not spending too much time so you can spend time on other aspects of the business that are important and also not burn out and work a reasonable work week. So the first tip is autopilot scheduling is your best friend. This is where you look at your week, every week, you look at your calendar, and you pre-schedule blocks of time where you're going to do BNI activities. Now, this is the same for any activity in your business. You want to have a calendar that's preset every week. I get it. Look, life happens. Every day there's always something that comes up that's going to derail some of that day, and we have to reschedule accordingly. But by auto-scheduling recurring commitments in your diary that are intentional and focus blocks of times on things that are important in your business, you're going to be way more productive in your business. And the same applies to what you do for BNI. So Again, the next thing I'm going to speak about is just how you can really break down the time investment in BNI. So hat tip to Owen Dockham for these tips, which he shared with me on a presentation. So this is kind of how BNI breaks down and how you can be as time efficient as possible with it. So you've got 2 hours a week roughly for the weekly meeting. 1 to 2 hours a week for one-to-ones. Again, you all want to put this in your calendar, recurring autopilot scheduling. Another hour proactively looking for referrals. This is where you're going to sit down for an hour. Don't have to necessarily sit down, you can stand up. And you can actually proactively look for referrals for your members. So that could be using resources like Nextdoor, which is a website which focuses on very local products and services and people looking for certain things, business services. So you can obviously use that to link up what people want and need with what members provide in your group. You can look at your contact list, all of your network, see where there's synergy, see where you connect people and find opportunities for members that way. And of course, there's your clients. I think that's one of the biggest opportunities is when you're in our business, we have the advantage of we're talking to people all day long. We're training clients. We're learning about their lives, their profession, what they're up to, what they need, their problems. If we're not careful, we can really become everyone's therapist, right? And this is a great opportunity to learn about, again, what they're looking for, what problems they have, so you can, again, find opportunities to provide referrals to your members that way for your clients as well. So, again, that's 1 hour being proactive, obviously doing those things, and then you've got the opportunities during the just running of your business and training clients. The next thing is 1.5 hours on just continuing education. So it's worth it to listen to the BNI official podcast, and consume some of the BNI Connect resources like Business Builder. These things just help you get better at networking. So if you factor in a bit of sharpening the saw, honing the craft of networking, there's that as well. So in total, you're looking at 5 to 6 hours a week in BNI. So that's kind of time investment. You've got to think about this when you're really figuring out you're measuring the return on investment for this in your business. So let's talk about return on investment for a moment. And again, I think this is one of these things that gets really neglected in our industry in terms of our colleagues measuring the return they're getting from their marketing activity and actually using that to understand what marketing is worthwhile and what's not. What should we drop and what should we double down on? So when you measure ROI, it's a very simple exercise with something like BNI. Just create a simple spreadsheet. And I have a simple spreadsheet which has the different marketing initiatives on the left-hand side. And then just a couple of columns. And one of those columns might be the time cost. So your hours put into it. Like, what do you pay yourself per hour? And what's the value of your hourly rate? And what is that every single week? And then obviously the cost in terms of the annual membership. So BNI is about $1,000 a year, something along that sort of order of magnitude. And then obviously you want to calculate return on investment. How many referrals are you getting? What conversion rate are you getting on those? How many are you actually converting versus not? And then what are you generating in terms of revenue? And that will really help you to then figure out what's the net amount that you're making from BNI. When you look at your overall revenue generated and you subtract your costs in terms of time and membership investment, then what does that look like? And that's really important because if you don't have that information, how are you going to objectively assess your networking investment or any marketing investment for that matter? The other thing as well, the kind of softer costs that you've got to factor in are things like stress. So for me, again, as I said, I did BNI for about 8 months. We got quite a bit out of it, but we stopped because we did see diminishing returns. I'm going to come on to that in a bit, which is why sometimes I think for our particular niche, BNI can perhaps be better as a short-term investment unless you've got a great group. And again, we'll come on to that in a moment. But for me, my kids were very young. In fact, my kids are still very young. I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. And our BNI meeting was online and it was 6:30 a.m. till 8:30. And that's like the time, if most of you parents will know, it's absolutely mental in your household because you're trying to get your kids ready and they're running around and they're screaming and you're trying to get everyone ready and you're trying to meet a schedule and get to work and things like that and get breakfast. And I just found it to be very stressful because I didn't like leaving the missus to be organizing all of that. And I could hear all the screaming downstairs. And, when you factor in the fact that ROI was dwindling over time, it just didn't make any more sense to really go through that stress as well. And then there's obviously opportunity cost. You can't do everything. I think there's this we've got this kind of virus in our culture right now in business, which is we try and do all these things and we feel obligated to do everything. And not to go digress too much, but I do think this has strong evolutionary roots where we don't want to let anyone down, and there's a lot of FOMO, and we try and be everywhere, be on on every marketing channel, and it just doesn't work. It's not sustainable. It's not even that productive, and you're better off being focused. And so with BNI, you've got to remember, if you're doing BNI, it means you're saying no to something else. So you have to think about that too. So I'm trying to give you a really objective view of this particular marketing opportunity. So to give you some more, I guess, information on what happened with us is, I told you already, we generated about 10 customers through BNI very quickly. We did see that drop off. The issue with our chapter is it was very small. So Galway only has about 80, 90,000 people. There's a lot of people that pass through, but in terms of like people that live here, and there was only one chapter, and the chapter was very small, and it was losing members, and the members weren't there wasn't a high percentage of our target market of kind of high income, successful, busy professionals in the group. Some of my best referral partners who were delivering referrals in the beginning left. So the ROI really dwindled over time. But all of that said, I do want to highlight how valuable this can be to kickstart your business, as it certainly did help us in the beginning. So just to conclude, if in your city or town, there are very few groups which have very low numbers of members and they're not in your target market, probably shouldn't join that group and probably should focus your resources elsewhere. It can provide a great kickstart to your business, helping get those clients in the beginning, and certainly provide you with an injection of new clients, which may then peter out over time. But again, you've got to track your return on investment to see what's really happening. If you have access to a good group, it's almost always worth investing for at least 1 year because the upfront cost is not very high. And as I said, if you've got a group that hits the criteria we spoke about, 20, 25 members of your target market, or most of those being in your target market, the likelihood is you're going to get a good ROI on that investment, right? If you think about Brad, right? So 19 clients convert. And if you assume that all those clients spending somewhere between, $400 or $500 per month in recurring income, then it's paid for itself many times over. And you might be thinking, well, Lawrence, aren't there other tactics to help me grow my business to bring in new clients? And the answer is, of course there is. I just think that networking is one of the things you should be thinking about first. But there are other tactics to use, I just want to share some of the things that I see working really well right now. And those would be Bark.com, which is kind of like Craigslist for professional services, and Thumbtack.com, which is the same kind of thing, which is where you invest in credits, which you then use to buy leads. And those leads can be people who have expressed interest in personal training services. Obviously, there's internal marketing through referrals and delivering great customer service and workouts, but also being very proactive yourself and in how you train your trainers to ask for referrals from existing clients and also follow up on those referrals. That's probably the most underrated and most lucrative marketing tactic you can do. Then there's Google Organic, which is like SEO and how people find you on Google and getting on page one, which I talked about in my SEO content with Gert Melak, which we'll link to from this post. And then there's paid Google. And then finally, there's corporate speaking, which I spoke about with Sherry McMillan in episode 395, which we'll also link to. Obviously, that's not all the marketing tactics, but those were they seem to be the most successful right now. And I see the highest ROI coming from those right now. So social media is not there, I'm afraid, right now. So that's at least what I'm seeing. Not to say social media doesn't work, but it's just I'm not seeing the evidence for that really. And again, in the beginning, when you're first starting your business, obviously you want to be testing lots of different marketing and just seeing what sticks, right? So you want to test a lot of things, track the ROI for all of those in the way I described. And then you want to really do an 80-20 analysis after a couple months, see what's pulling in most of the return. And 80-20 is a phenomenon you always see in lots of areas of life, but certainly in marketing, where you'll notice that only a few or small number of your marketing activities produce almost all of the results you're getting. And when you see that, you just want to basically delete those that aren't working for you and just double down on those that are. And that's where you're going to get your highest return on investment. So what's the next thing to do? That's it really in terms of this podcast. So the action to take is just review your local BNI and local networking opportunities in your area and just test them out. Again, the first session with BNI is completely free. So it's a no-brainer to go and do it if you need an injection of new clients into your business. You can access all of my documented journey with BNI as well as loads of free BNI resources. And by resources, I literally mean things that you can just copy and paste and steal from me. Presentations, 60-second speeches that are tailored to all sorts of different things that talk about myokines and anti-aging and bone mineral density and all these things. You can literally steal these borrow these resources from me when you join Hit Business Membership, which is highintensitybusiness.com/join, and you can go there and learn all about that. So that's it from me. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. Please subscribe to this podcast on your favorite platform. It really does help the podcast out. The more subscribers you have, the more awareness your podcast gets. So I'd really appreciate that. And obviously, if you enjoy it, please also leave a review on iTunes. Just to let you know, we're also on YouTube, youtube.com/high-intensity-business. Leave that in, Andre, if you're hearing me. I thought that was quite funny. And you can actually watch the videos that we put on YouTube as well, the podcasts. And again, to get more clients for your high-intensity training business, you can download a free presentation as evidence-based over at highintensitybusiness.com/free. This presentation is all about the anti-aging effects of strength training, which was sent to me by a very kind listener. And this presentation is fantastic for any speaking engagement or even just to educate your existing clients to help retain them over the long term. So you can go and get that, as well as lots of other resources over at highintensitybusiness.com/free. To find the blog post for this episode, please go to highintensitybusiness.com. Search for episode 398. And until next time, thank you as always for listening.